Can y'all hear me back there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, so my clean date is May 1st, 2021. That's when I decided to come to Florida. But a little bit before that, we're going to go about 5 years. I lost my mom due to a medical condition. I was drinking and drugging at that point. When I lost her, I went off the deep end. Anything I could find was my solution. I was hurt. I would find whatever I could close. I went to the fire academy, passed that. Went to the paramedic academy, passed that, so I was a firefighter paramedic. One thing about me being around those drugs is it was free access. That really was. If I was hurting, I had a bad call, didn't use all the drugs, just put it in my pocket, walk away. I didn't think about it a lot until I went to work in the plants. I worked in the gas refineries as a contractor. I did rope access. I would climb towers and rappel down, carrying a 45-pound camera, 75-pound camera, doing x-rays, looking at pipes, making sure that they're not thinning out. Cool. I did basically anything daredevil that you could during my addiction. It didn't matter what it was, didn't matter who I was around. If I thought it was going to be fun, I was going to do it. Went to work in the plants, did that for about 3 years. Decided I want to get back into the medical field. Went to work in a processing plant, a pig processing plant up in Oklahoma. Cool. Got my apartment set up, got everything set up. The apartment was set up in such a way that when I came home drunk, I knew where my bed was. That was the first thing you walked into was my bed. That's how I set my apartment up. I didn't have a TV, barely had running water, and barely had electricity. All I cared about was a bed, a roof and a bed. That's all I cared about. I worked in that processing plant for about a month. The few of us that were together in that group, I was a first aid tech. So with me being a paramedic, I would have to go out to the floor, and if one of the employees cut their arm or anything like that, I would have to respond and either stitch their arm on site or send them out for further medical care. I did that, and it started bringing up my PTSD. I did not know what PTSD was until that. I thought I was just having random flashbacks. Random flashbacks to when I was a medic. Random flashbacks to my younger days. I was abused growing up. I really was. My dad was real abusive. He instilled a lot of things in me that I'm still working to try to get out of myself. And that's one thing that's hard for me, is to say, hey, I struggle with this part. Because I was brought up as a man, you don't talk about what you're feeling, you don't show emotions. Men basically have no feeling. Well, I did that during my mom's death too. When my mom died at her funeral, I was drunk and high and still did not shed a tear. So with that, my work in Oklahoma was working, leaving a bar. Probably not the brightest idea to be behind the wheel with a firefighter paramedic certification, but oh well. I left the bar, got to the turnoff to my apartment, the red and blues come on. That was my first arrest. Cool. Get on probation, go through the court proceedings, talk to the judge, be like, hey, I can do it, I can stay sober for 2 years. That's all I was looking at, was 2 years on probation, 2 years on a paper. Cool. 2 years. How easy is that going to be? That was not easy at all. A week later, a week to the day, I got put on probation. I was arrested again. But this time, the court looked at me and said, you're a menace to society. You're going away for 5 years. No rehab, no anything. The court said, you're going away for 5 years. Cool. Then they come to find out that I had a note in my wallet, and that note sent me to a psych ward for 14 days. That note was my suicide note. That felony DUI actually saved my life, believe it or not. I didn't believe in a higher power at this point. I did not. After everything I've been through, after everything I've seen, a higher power was not in my position at all. I was in the psych ward, and one of the people came up to me, one of the psych doctors came up to me and said, "You need to go to rehab." I said, "The court won't let me go. I leave here and I go away for 5 years to the state of Oklahoma penitentiary in Oklahoma City." And the psych doctor said, "Well, we'll talk about it." The last day there, they gave me 3 options: California, Florida, or Hawaii. I could not stay in Texas, I could not stay in Oklahoma, and I could not stay in Colorado. Take me out of my comfort zone. Take me out of where I ran. I ran all up and down Texas, Oklahoma, and Colorado. Especially being a homeless kid at 16, doing rodeos. Going from rodeo to rodeo, working on different ranches. I knew everywhere. I knew all the bars, I knew everything. Cool. So I said, well, let me think about it. They said, no, you have today. You have till you walk out the door to make your decision. Okay. So I said, Florida. Get taken home, go to court the next day. That day during court, I get a phone call from a treatment center here. Said, "Mr. Ludiker, we have a plane booked for you. Your plane leaves tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Be there." Cool. Leave court, get to a restaurant to eat. Didn't have any alcohol, didn't have anything that I knew of there. I sit down, my phone rings again. "Mr. Ludiker, we cannot accept you because of your mental health. But there's another treatment center that wants you. It's still in Florida. They'll be calling you within the next couple minutes." Cool. So I just said, I'm like, okay, I'm going to Florida, so I need to get some clean clothes. Go to the laundromat, spend $20 to clean my clothes, to clean what I had in Oklahoma at the time. Left the laundromat, and I ate nonstop, so I don't know how I was still hungry. I had a turkey burger that day for lunch, and it was probably about 2 o'clock in that afternoon. I was going to McDonald's to get me some more food. That's how bad I was. I didn't really care. I was going to eat my feelings instead of drinking or drugging. On the way to McDonald's, my phone rings. Said, "Mr. Ludiker, this is the treatment center here in Florida. We have a plane booked for you. It leaves at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow." Okay. During that time, I was driving to McDonald's. The traffic light went straight from green to red. I had to slam on my brakes. And lo and behold, right next to me, watch the whole thing, was a cop. That cop sat there, I sat there, light turned green, red and blues come on. Like, sitting next to me, the red and blues come on. I knew what it was, so I pulled over. Cop walks up to me and says, "Mr. Ludiker, do you know why I stopped you?" I said, "Honestly, no." And he was like, "Excessive braking." Okay. So, I had real high anxiety, untreated at the time, and I was shaking probably worse than a windstorm. I couldn't stand still. My hands would shake real bad. My legs would shake real bad. My whole body was shaking. The cop looked at me and said, "Do you have any drugs in your vehicle?" I said no. The whole time, not realizing that the person on the phone is saying, "Put me on speakerphone, put me on speakerphone." I put the person on speakerphone, and he said who he was, who he was with, and what he was doing. The cop said, "Okay." Cop put me in handcuffs. He said, "Mr. Ludiker, I have to search your car. I believe you have drugs." Okay. "I don't have anything, so you can search my car. I'm not hiding anything." Get put in the front seat of the cop car, handcuffs, still talking to the admission guy on the phone. He's like, "Tell me everything, what's going on. Tell me what's going this. Where's the cop at?" I told him. The guy was like, "Okay." The cop comes to the window, to the door, opens the door, and the admission guy said, "Let me have the phone." Wait, what? I'm not going to hand my phone to a cop. I don't know what he's going to do with it. The admission guy said, hand the phone to him. I hand the phone to the cop. Cop slams the door. So I couldn't hear what was going on. Heard all this radio traffic going on, so it was kind of like a clutter out to where I couldn't hear the cop. Cop hands me my phone back and says, all right, you're going to be on your plane tomorrow, aren't you? I said, yeah, I'll be on the plane. Already thinking I'm not going to go to treatment. I'm just going to do what I knew how to do best, and that was run. I knew how to run. That was the fun thing for me. I get in trouble, let me run. But let me run to something that was comfortable. Let me run to the drugs. Let me run to the alcohol. Let me run to somewhere that I couldn't feel myself. So I went to work that night. The cop went to work that night, got off at 4:30 a.m. At 7 o'clock, I hear a knock. Guyman PD. Acted like I was still asleep. Didn't want to hear it. Knocked again. Guyman PD, please open the door. I was acting like I was still asleep. But I slept with the door open to have a breeze go through my apartment. Cop walks in, says, get up. Are you packed? I said, yeah, I'm packed. I wasn't packed. I really wasn't. I threw a bunch of clothes together. Cop takes my bags out to his car, and he says, all right, we're going to lock your apartment up. Okay, wait, where am I going now? Like, something's not adding up here. A cop has come to my apartment. I'm supposed to be on a plane in 4 hours. I don't know what's going on. Cop puts me in his car, and we take off to Amarillo, Texas, where the nearest airport was, and that was a 3-hour drive. During that time, the cop said, I'm doing this for your own safety, for your own good, and you need the help. He said, I've seen many of firefighters, I've seen many of people in the field that I was in destroy their lives doing what I was doing. And not once had they asked for help. Or when if they asked for help, it was too late. So I get to the airport. My brother meets me there. My brother is 16 years in recovery. He was a model to me. Me and him drugged. We did everything together. My drug use started at age 7, to tell y'all the truth. So I was 29 at the time when I got on that plane. My brother talked to me a little bit, and he said, all right. My sister called me and said, don't call me until you're sober and you're dead to me. And I used that. I used that as my motivation to prove to her that I'm better than what my past was. Get on the plane, go to Dallas. Never been on a plane before in my life. Don't know how I survived. In Dallas, I decided, hey, I'm going to get high so I can just enjoy the trip. I ended up getting on the wrong plane. I went from Dallas to LAX. Called the treatment center, said, hey, I'm here, where's my person at? They said, no, you're in the wrong state. Wait, what? They said, you're in California. You're supposed to be in Florida. Okay, cool. So they book a ticket, they get tickets figured out. I fly back from LAX to Dallas, and I start my detox on the plane. In Dallas, there was a person waiting for me. Her turned out to be my BHT tech that was over the house. Never had that happen before in my life. Somebody meet me at an airport holding a sign that says, your last name. Like, okay, what is this? Already tripping because I'm detoxing pretty hard. Never been on a plane, so I'm tripping. Like, what's going to happen? Is a sky falling out every time the plane takes off? Like, feel that suck into your seat. So we go from Dallas to PBI. There was another person there at PBI, picked me up, took me to detox. Spent 6 days in that detox, got kicked out to PHP. Was in PHP for 5 days and got kicked back to detox. Cool. So I'm going to spend 12 days in detox. All right. Met my therapist that I was supposed to have within that 5 days of PHP. I fought to have her back when I got out of detox. They said, yeah, that's fine. So my 30-day treatment turned into 6 months. I had a plane ticket booked for 30 days after I got here. 30 days after that, the day I was supposed to leave, they extended me. Okay, what's going on? Another 30 days had passed. They extended me again. Then they say, oh, now you have to go to IOP. What's IOP? They said it's going to teach you how to work, how to get back out in the real world without having to drugs and alcohol, and you're going to have random testing. Cool, let's do it. Went to IOP, did that for 3 months. And during that time, I went to job interview. I went to 24 job interviews and never got one job. I lost my apartment, got evicted. I went back and forth to court because my small town court said, no, you have to be in person. Anytime you show up, you have to be in person. There's no Zoom, there's no nothing. Cool. So $600 a flight there and back. Okay. I had to do that 3 times. So I was upset. I met some people in recovery, and they started talking to me about this concept of a higher power. My therapist at the time, she was like, what's your belief in a higher power? I said, I don't have any. She pointed at a tree and said, make that your higher power. Some off the wall idea. I said, okay, I'll do it. And that's how I got my higher power I have today, honestly. Just that little bit of make that your higher power, like that little push I needed, got me a better higher power than what I expected. My last 2 weeks in IOP, I applied for 2 more jobs, went to 2 interviews, and one job called me back, said, hey, can you do an interview tomorrow? Yes. All right, meet me at this location. Show up, met some people, and they were like, all right, we'll call you if we need you. I just left the gate, and I get a phone call, hey, are you still on property? No, I just left, I can turn around. They said, no, we'll call you in 30 minutes. So I got an Uber to go back to my IOP house, and in that Uber, they said, we want to offer you a job position to where you're at. Cool. That's amazing that my last 2 weeks, me believing in this tree as a higher power, grew to me getting a job. Me not having to worry about where my next meal's coming from. Me not worry about having bills or anything like that. I went to work for this company, and I'm still there today. I owe this company a lot. I have grown a lot, and with my hope, I always had the hope. You can't, if you start this process, you have hope. You may not realize it, but you do. Just that little bit that you have, it's all you needed. I had none. I was just trying to avoid prison. That's all I was trying to do. Trying to join my freedom one last hurrah. Nope. To start my company, start here, go back to court one last time, which was last November. They gave me a plea deal, and the plea deal was I'll do a week in the county jail, and none of my arrests will be on my record. Wait, what? So me getting sober actually did something to myself? Okay. So I accepted the plea deal, and then my lawyer called me and said, hey, we have another plea deal on the table. What's this one? Thinking it's going to be worse. My worst case thought is everything's going to be worse. Everything is going to be worse. No, we want you to do 3 days with the day served. So 2 days in the county jail. Okay, but I would be considered a trustee, so I would have to do a day in that jail. Sign my name up, send me the papers, I'll put my name on that line right now, is what I told my lawyer. I've been fighting with that lawyer ever since. And it's all right, because I know today that without the pain that I shared to other people, without the pain that I've told people that I've been through, I haven't grown, and my pain didn't lessen. There's a saying I've heard that says, pain shared is pain lessened. And that is so true. It really is. You can't carry that burden of whatever you've done and expect people to know what's actually going on. If you share it, you don't have to share a lot, just share a little bit. That pain does go away eventually. And that's about all I have.